No, okay, I'd like to call to order the Town of Niskayuna Conservation Advisory Council meeting, and this is the June 5th, 2024 meeting. Laura, could you please call the roll?
Sure. So we have Simran Uturkar, Chuck Petrowski, Chairman Dart Strayer, Ashok Ramasubramanian, Ellen Daviero, and Clark Henry.
Okay, great. We have a guest that's going to speak to us. Sarah Sirk is a member of ECOS, and they have an initiative. And Sarah, if actually we have a member coming in, so as soon as we're good.
Okay, and sorry, for the record, Vicky Michaela is here, and we also have online Richard Frontero.
Okay. So introduce yourself for the record, and then the floor is yours for as long as you want.
All right, I'm Sarah Selleck, and ECOS is a nonprofit. We've been around for more than 50 years, and we aim to get people outside with the idea of creating better environmental stewards. So every year we hold a casual porch and pollinator event for our beloved board member that passed, if you know Ed Kautz. And in his honor, we have this event, and we formed a Healthy Yards Committee. Did I forget this?
You're pretty quiet.
Oh, can you hear me?
That's much better.
Okay. So at this first committee meeting, we talked about what can we do to shift the paradigm a little bit with the habits that we have locally with our yards, with lawns, with mowing, herbicides, fertilizers, even our perceptions of what looks beautiful to people. How can we shift it a bit? And so we had our first meeting, and there's only 5 of us, and we went in about 2,000 different directions. So some people wanted to talk about homeowner associations and their regulations and how ridiculous those are. And some people like me wanted to talk about CVS drugstores, which are supposed to be about health and have all those little yellow signs out everywhere. There's, what is that company up Balltown Road that has they try to make a big statement with 20 acres of mowed lawns and, I guess to impress shareholders and so forth. So after our first meeting, we decided that we really need to narrow our focus. And we wanted to show people rather than tell them. We wanted to keep it positive instead of judgmental. And we wanted to hang on to the concept that small steps are good steps. Small steps are better than nothing. So we came up with that, with the idea of these tiny pollinator garden models. Let me grab that here. Can you hear me if I shout or?
Yeah.
No, you can't because the people online.
Oh, okay.
Can we put the microphone right in front here, like we did the other night?
I mean,
so I'll use it. That's okay. These are just to show you the idea. There's nothing crucial about it. So the idea with these tiny pollinator gardens, we actually installed 2 this spring. We came up with one for a public spot and one for a private spot, a yard. So some people need a recipe. I mean, we are happy preaching to the choir, and we know lots of people can do much better than these 10-foot little pollinator gardens. But for the people that need recipes, we came up with the idea to make it as easy as possible to bridge the gap between talking about doing something for pollinators and actually doing it. So we dotted every I, crossed every T. We coordinated with a company called Jessicology. I don't know if are any of you familiar with them. Their whole niche is ecological gardening and trying to change yards into something that's healthier for all of us. So they're based out of Boston Spa, and we asked them if they could come up for us with supplying the starter kits. So they provide the exact starter kits that our little tiny pollinators show. And we have 6 species, it's 22 plants in each one. It's available on site. Everything links up like our website so that people can easily purchase them. And believe it or not, they are. So it's really been exciting. They've been buying them. We have simple one for sunny spot and one for shady spot. These are a little beat up because we keep taking them around to all of our table events, and they have a QR code where people can link right in and purchase them. So we chose the species for maximum success for beginner gardeners. And actually, I did a beautiful drawing first, and I chose my 6 species, and Jessicology said no. So they wanted things that were good for our clay soils here in Schenectady and Niskayuna, that were easy for beginner gardeners, gives them success, and things that rabbits don't munch on as much. And so we carefully chose these 6. And like I said, the first thing I'll just show you real quick is, you have to picture my picnic table here that I'm used to. There we go. We wanted a public spot that had maximum visibility, and we don't want to just preach to the choir. So there we go.
See it online if you put it.
Oh, okay. I'm getting the hang of this. So for our public spot, we thought, where is the audience that most uses ChemLawn and TruGreen is going to come with the most number of feet that walk past? And we came up with the entrance to the town pool that everybody thousands of feet have to walk past, read our sign, get connected with our links to buy their own starter kits, get a little bit educated, and that was our spot. So the next thing we had to do, of course, after we chose our public spot, was talk to the town, which I thought they'd say, sure, that's great. I mean, you maintain it and all, but as is predictable, the first thing they were worried about was kids are going to be dying right and left from bee stings. So I did go in and talk to the town and explained why bee stings are a little bit more of a myth than a real risk. And they were very cooperative. She got Ray Smith, everybody else on board, everybody cooperated, and we got the town pool spot planted on May 5th. So Schenectady Soil and Water came and donated their mulch and compost. And speaking of that, we were supposed to be rid of those piles. We were rid of mulch. Apparently everybody likes mulch. If anybody could use more compost, the pile's still sitting there. We had a lot more than we could use. But we had ECOS members, a guy that's an archaeologist, had experience with removing turf, and we had the Boy Scouts out of Glenville in the rain that came out and, you know, in the mud and rain planted it for us. We got good press coverage. There's actually a picture in the pouring rain. I look like a drowned rat with, you know, that picture in the Times-Union. But it's been really important to have somebody like Jillian Scott that's connected with the newspapers, that keeps getting this stuff out there. And I know people are reading it because they keep telling me. So the next step is the sign, and that's crucial because that's the point, is to educate people as they walk past this and show you can do this too. And if you want to start with these 6 species, this is how you get it. We know we're going to have a QR code that connects from the sign, and we're still trying to come up with sort of punchy, catchy phrases to educate people that aren't as interested as we are. The next thing that Jillian did for us was she advertised, put out a press release for a private drawing for a winner. And we actually got quite a few applicants, which was great. And we asked for the applicants to live in a walkable area. And we asked that they would agree to put it in their front yard where it can be seen, and that they would display our educational sign, that they'd maintain it, and so forth. So at our planting of the public spot, the Boy Scouts drew a name, and she's very, just really excited, kind of cute, like how excited she was, the winner of this. And she lives out in Rotterdam. She lives in the perfect little neighborhood with a little manicured, closely cut lawns. And she told us, you know, the only thing the neighbors have are boxwoods and, other non-natives in their yard and very manicured and so forth. And she told us that they don't like that she has a birch tree in her yard because of the leaves. So after that, she planted the kit that she won right under the birch trees for us, and is going to hopefully, bit by bit, start conversations in that neighborhood. And in addition to that, we've applied for a grant. These starter kits are actually a little expensive, each one native plants, and 22 plants is like almost $300. So ECOS afforded the first 2, and we plan to keep doing it every year, another private, another public spot. We've also applied for a grant, and hopefully, if we get that, we can do a whole bunch more. So the idea, of course, the end goal isn't just to have these little 10-foot model gardens everywhere. The idea is to raise awareness and get people talking about it. People are very social, and it's a big part of why we have the lawns. The norms that we do are from social pressure. And so that's our goal, is to start conversations and start shifting that. So that's where we're at.
That's actually really interesting and great. I'm sure we have some questions, so if anybody like to ask some questions?
So, are you familiar with Niskayuna's pesticide-free pledge?
I am. I can't do that in my yard. One of the things we talked about is, for example, I have a birch tree, which is a native tree, and if I don't spray it, it will perish from birch borer. We have a lot of pathogens that are not native, although birch borer actually is. But with climate change and other factors, there are reasons, and we wanted to be more inclusive of not like absolute pledges, like you will never spray or something, and just try and get people on board with small steps. So yeah, I'm familiar with it, but
I mean, Ellen can correct me if I'm wrong. The intent is not meant to be like black and white. What the pledge is more directed towards, like, the routine treatments and the yellow flags appearing every 3 weeks, or auto renewing like a Netflix subscription.
it is, and
I know.
I really appreciate that. And one of the things, you know what? One of the things when we connect people to our website, what else did I bring in here? We have these pamphlets that are on our website that we're connecting them with. These are a couple extra that you can look at. And pesticides, exactly, is a large part of what we talk about in here, using less of it. And we're not trying to have people get rid of all lawn. We're just trying to reduce, just trying to move in the right direction. And, full confession, I'm a forester. And I know, for example, that weeping willows are not native, and I want one. And, I associate it with childhood, and I think the idea is not, again, the absolutes as much as being aware of what you're choosing and why you're choosing it, and choosing it carefully and within, moderation. So.
Are you able to email the pollinator planting as a PDF
Sure.
that we could put on our website?
Oh, I'd love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because I think we could put
Yeah.
all those things on our website. They dovetail into our programs really nicely, and possibly, I don't know if it would work or not, but we may be able to get a grant.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, the more grant money we can have, like right now with our yard winner, she was great. She was so excited. She was sitting on the porch waiting for me when I dropped these plants off. But it's so nice if we had grant money, we could have it installed for them, and we would get so many more in so much
Yeah.
faster.
And then, you get over that hump, and then hopefully the people maintain them and they grow.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that this program really dovetails into some of the climate initiatives that we're trying to establish here. Because, I mean, the whole idea behind the pesticide-free thing is to try to change people's view of the lawn. I mean, it's voluntary. So, and by putting the sign there, we're hoping that there's some peer pressure. But like we have natural areas that the town has off the driving range, and we've attempted to put wildflowers in there, slow-mo areas, and we have worked to try to get pollinators under the solar panels over,
Fantastic.
up by Hillside, off Hillside.
Yeah.
So we have a whole series of really composting initiatives, wildlife corridors. There's a whole bunch of initiatives that this committee is going, and I agree with you. It's going to take a long time to change people's minds, but people's minds will change.
Absolutely. So
And I think this is a really, really innovative program. So,
thank you. Yeah,
I think it's really
I
neat.
hope so. And I was a forester for years and then later became a landscape architect, got a degree. So, studied a lot about why people do what they do and how influenced they are. And it's not as simple as, sometimes I hear people say, well, they're just trying to imitate French royalty or Versailles. And the way that American lawns developed was actually very different than Europe. But a large part of it that we have to understand is the social pressure. And there are surveys with people that it's like, yes, they know these chemicals cause cancer, but they feel such an obligation to neighbors. So it's extremely social and, extremely dependent on peer pressure, keeping up what they think everybody wants. And, just a little background, Frederick Law Olmsted came up with the first planned community outside Chicago and talked about blurring the lines between public and private, that we all own a piece of the park. And so what we need to do is just change people's concept of what that park should look like. So that's what we're trying to do.
I would, the pollinator planning for the shady and the sunny is great. I think that, hopefully, people can mimic it, for themselves. I would say that I think that, since we started that pesticide free, that I have seen way more lawns with yellow dandelions.
Oh, I love to hear that.
And way than I have ever seen before.
Yes.
I also think that, they're gone now. It's like a month. We live in the Northeast, I think that, pesticide, to use, there are things that you can use on your birch, that fall under the realm. And I don't think that it's specifically the pesticides that you use on your lawns are so detrimental that is what the target for the pesticide free was. So it really shouldn't deter you from doing it. I don't know what homeowners associations, I live in a neighborhood. I didn't realize we had homeowners associations here that people had to use pesticides on their lawns. So I will look into that because I didn't think that was a thing.
I think it depends on where you live in the town.
Oh, so you do have to put pesticides on your lawn if you live in a home and you live,
I don't know the exact rules, but I know that Niskuna has homeowners associations. It's generally the developments that were built in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
I know what I'm saying is I didn't realize that part of being in that development requires you to use pesticides on your lawn, which I don't believe it does.
I doubt any of them say that per se. What
Yeah.
they do say is you must, keep it free of weeds, with their perception of what a weed is. So that's where we need to shift the, what people's.
All right, I'll look into that because I'm starting to
Yeah.
work on the apartment complexes
Excellent.
in this area to try to move away from using pesticides and to start to compost and those sort of things. So there
Excellent.
actually is a compost at the town pool. I don't believe
I
it's
saw
open
that.
just yet, but
Yes.
it's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities
Yeah.
here. I mean, if we could get the schools to put these in, I mean, that would be a perfect educational
yeah,
area.
and-
More areas in the town park.
In our neighborhood too, this is another thing that I talk a lot about, how important the leaves are. It's where all these creatures nest and so forth. But I also want to get across the idea, like, you can really turn people off and, make enemies, and they're going to dig their heels in if it's all or nothing. And when I talk to my neighbors, I say, yeah, I do get rid of some of the leaves, in the front of the house where it piles up, and I leave a whole bunch. If people could just start thinking in terms of leaving some, start thinking about what you do in your backyard if you're too timid in the beginning to do it in your front yard. And, anything is better. And the conversation's being started, the awareness. So that's what we're after.
How once a person purchases the kit, how easy or difficult is it for them to do it?
Well, typically they're probably tearing up some turf. So these kits, it's only 22 plants, so it's like 10 square feet. You have to remove the turf. We pick plants that are pretty easy, so you probably don't have to add a lot of compost or anything else. And yeah, the yard owner out in Rotterdam that won, she was so excited. She wrote and sent photos in like 2 days of it all planted. And we had 6 Boy Scouts who only got to plant like 2 plants each, and it was done in half an hour. And it's doing great at the town pool. But the next thing is our sign. We haven't agreed on what to say yet.
So in the kit, is it seeds or
No, it's plants.
little plants?
Yeah, it's plants. And by the way, one of the questions, we were hoping for a grant from the Niskayuna Foundation, and I hope we're getting it, because they wrote back and they asked a lot more specific questions, which to me is a good sign. But one of the things they were asking is, Jessicology, like, do you know her? Because honestly, she's gotten a lot of business from us since we initiated this. But it was just because it was her niche. And what I would like to do, it's really just, we have so few volunteers and little time, but the whole idea is that it's not just Jessicology, that by next year I'll talk to Fatigans and Georges and Kulaks and, every other nursery I can think of, and see if they can supply similar things.
Are they 1 gallon?
And I'm sorry, say again?
Are they like 4-inch pots or 1 gallon pots?
Their pots are a little irregular, like they're different sizes, but they're probably average like 6-inch or so. They're little, but we planted that May 5th, and if you stop by the town pool, it's really doing well.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kicking on growth.
So I'm just reading. I think we could probably put this on our website too, or link to it. But I've been reading this too, that no mow May isn't as good as we thought. I shared this with the CAC, that you really don't want to make this beautiful place for bugs and then mow it all on June 1st and then they all die. So you're recommending the low mow May?
Right. I haven't looked at this recently. I remember Jillian put this together, and I remember we did chat with her about that. And
Yeah.
and I'm
It's better to mow every like 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and just you mow at the absolute highest setting on your
like
lawnmower,
like
Mhm.
like 5 or 6. Yeah, that's
It'd really be at 6, and
Mhm.
then, and then you can. and then-
Yeah.
6 inches.
Yes.
if you can. Yeah, mine kind of pops out of its 6 inches and goes back to 5 a lot. But
I haven't looked at that pamphlet, the last edition she did, but does it say
oh, it's
no
great.
mow?
Actually,
no mow
some
May
of
in
the
there?
stuff
Okay.
is the same that's in Nikki's Quiet Niskayuna. I don't know if you guys ever work together, but it literally says a single gas-powered lawnmower emits as much VOCs and nitrogen oxide in 1 hour as driving a car for 45 minutes.
And it's
And
as
then it
loud,
says,
can be as loud.
that the 2-stroke leaf blower produces the same hydrocarbon emissions as 3,900 mile drive. Because we actually have some of this stuff in our Quiet Niskayuna to try and get people to switch to electric lawn maintenance. This is great.
Yeah,
This
just
is super great. It's good to make
Go
this
ahead.
connection.
yeah. First of all, thank you, Sarah, for coming out tonight and
Oh,
spending
thanks for
your
having me.
evening with us. We really do appreciate it. Just for the record, can you tell us a little bit more about what ECOS is and how people can find more information about ECOS?
Yes. Actually, I could give you some of our old business cards too. ECOS has been around for
And
more
what
than
does ECO stand for, please?
ECO stands for the Environmental Clearinghouse of Schenectady. And my understanding, and when it was started more than 50 years ago, was it was some housewives that started it around, 1972 or something. And the aim is to get people outside. So we have kayak trips and walks. And what makes us a little bit different from other groups that are just meetups and hikes and stuff is we try to get a little of education in there too. So for example, we just finished this Tuesday was our last Tuesday walk. And we have different leaders. We had a fabulous one from Union College that was professor emeritus there in ecology. And we walked through Reese Sanctuary right behind my house. And I thought I knew all about it. And apparently I knew nothing about it. She told us so much, so it's a bit of information. It's a bit of just like-minded people getting together. We also share other regional events. The most exciting thing we're doing right now, have you heard about Seek?
No, I have not.
Oh, you're going to love this one. This is the old casino building in Schenectady.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen it recently with the big colorful signs, but there are 5
Yes,
partners
okay,
coming
yes.
together. And we've got the grant money. We're having informationals and fundraisers that go on pretty much most months. And we are one of the 5 partners. The lead partner is Schoharie River Center, which is a much bigger organization, staffed and has an executive director, which we don't. We have really interesting and knowledgeable members. For example, when I talked about this porch and pollinator with Ed Kautz, Ed Kautz, just one example, had his PhD in wildlife biology. And we have a wealth of backgrounds and informations. We don't have the organization staff budget that Schoharie River Center has. So they often run the programs and we help feed our members and volunteers to help them out with their programs.
And is ECOS a 501c3?
Yes.
Okay, great. And if people were interested in volunteering, what
Oh
is
my
the best
gosh.
way for them to reach out to ECOS?
Couple things. I just had these business cards on my desk in there. If they contact, we have a website. It's
Okay.
ecosny.org. And we have calendar of events, how to contact us, how to join. All of our events are free and open to everybody. Some things like the upcoming Radix tour we collect $5 because we're giving them a donation, but everybody's welcome to come. We have speakers that go through the winter once a month that I round up. Here, you want to pass those around, or I'll let you pass those down. That's probably way too many. So if they go to our website is the best thing and see you can join, you can donate, you can contact us, you can volunteer, and we'd be happy.
Great, thank you so much.
So, do we have any other questions or comments for our guest?
I don't think so. Have they decided what's going to be at the Five Rivers Casino? They'll be composting there?
The 5,
The-
it's
I mean,
in
the-
Central Park, right?
yes,
The
yeah.
Seek,
Yeah, the
yes.
seat, sorry, yeah.
We have a gazillion ideas. We're working with an architect and we're trying to make it net zero. We're trying to think about the way we do everything, power with solar, with,
Okay.
and we have all kinds of programming ideas too. And we already do some programming out of Central Park. So it's not waiting for the building to be renovated before we begin. We're already,
Well, actually, you
Uh,
have, Cornell Cooperative Extension is right across the way and they
Yes.
compost. So maybe
Yep.
you can collaborate with them so you don't have to create your own compost.
yes. And the next fundraiser, we call them informationals, partly to bring in money, partly to get out the information, is going to be a tennis tournament because the courts are right there. And we're trying to bring in all different crowds from different parts of life and tell them all about the program and get donations.
So I just have a couple questions and comments. You said that ECOS has a wealth of experts.
We do. We have a disorganized wealth of experts. And, I'll just be honest. We operate, I think I've talked to you about
Yeah,
this, that
yeah.
we operate without an executive director.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, and I think, I don't know if ECOS would be willing to, if we needed information about stuff, provide your expertise to this committee, because I think this committee is very passionate about the environment and stuff, but maybe we don't have all the expertise. But in a broader sense, we had Cornell Cooperative come several years ago and talk about natural lawn maintenance and stuff like that. I was wondering if ECOS would be interested in maybe doing some programs where we, as the CAC, could co-sponsor some programs here at Town Hall. No pressure, no nothing, but if there was an opportunity for an educational event, providing that Town Hall is available, I
Definitely.
think that would be
Yes.
really good. And, I think there's a lot of synergy here, and certainly, Laura, we could get this on the website. I think we should
Yeah.
definitely do that. And I
Yeah.
also think that
And
we should keep
uh,
in contact.
yes, Laura, I was going to say, I did send these photos, I believe, digital images to, is it Jean or Jeannie Foti?
I can ask Jean to.
Do you want to check if, or I
Yeah.
can go back and look and resend them too? And then also, if there's any way you can connect, link right to our site, that would be great too, with more
I
information.
think we can do that with our one of our initiatives that we could just put it on that
Yeah.
page. Hmm.
I think this is really exciting, and I would like to see us work together in the future.
Yes, definitely. Oh, good to see you in your home habitat.
Yeah.
I'm just reading that shredding leaves can be particularly harmful to cocoons and insects, and I did not know that.
Yeah,
You mean mulching? Mulching them, like with a mulching lawnmower?
I have to say that's another one. I have trouble with absolutisms, and my feeling for myself is they're not leaving the site. All the nutrients, the nitrogen, the carbon is going back into the ground, and I often do mow mine. So, just regular mower. And I figure I'm leaving them on site. I'm not, having fuel and taking them off site and then buying fertilizer or anything else. That's my only fertilizer. So, and I have areas that I don't mow at all and leave the leaves all winter. And, there's some where I keep it a little more manicured in the front, but it's doing it intentionally and just learning and knowing more about what you're doing. Well, thank you
Well,
so
thank you very
much.
much. I appreciate your time
Yeah,
coming
so
out
thanks
to
for
talk
having
to
me.
us. Okay,
Oh, sure. Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Yeah, it was too. Hopefully, it won't be the last time.
Okay, we have some minutes from April 10th and May 1st to approve. So if we can start with the April 10th, I was wondering if anybody had any comments or would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I just had one small correction. I believe it was the April 10th minutes. There was just an incorrect spelling of the woman that runs the EV website, EV owners website. It's actually KRUK.
Do you know what line that was on? No, okay.
KRUK. Instead of K, I think it was spelled with 2 O's. That's it.
So I just thought you were a little quiet there, but
Under Quiet Niskayuna area, where I gave my report.
possibly in the must be in the second set of minutes there.
Maybe it's the second one.
Oh yeah, Kate Crook.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just one. You're saying
KRUK.
okay. Oh, okay. So not double O's.
Right.
So that's line 141 on the May 1st minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry,
No,
the
that's
gun there.
perfectly fine. That's good. Any other comments on the April minutes? Sure. Okay, hearing none, I make a motion that we adopt the minutes as written. Okay, I need a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
That, you're perfectly fine. So we have one abstention. Okay, the May minutes. So that's May 1st. I was not at this meeting, so
There was a point made about if we had even had a quorum for that meeting, and if we didn't have a quorum, can we even approve minutes?
Yeah, that's why we didn't approve them. That's why we
Okay.
didn't approve the
Oh,
April
improve the
minutes,
April
and
minutes.
that's why
I
we're
got
doing
it.
it.
Okay,
So we're
great.
doing them both today.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So we can make a motion to, does anybody, I don't have any corrections for the May minutes. Does anybody else? Didn't see, except for the,
The 140 line.
yeah, the line
141.
141 that needs to the spelling of the person's name. Okay. So we want to make a motion to accept those minutes?
okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm just going to abstain because I wasn't at the last meeting.
And I will abstain as well. Okay, good. Okay, sustainability checklist for developers. I know, Ellen, that you had worked on at least the initial part of the list. Do we have a list that we can talk to?
So the list is in the packet so far.
Yeah.
This is from everything that you guys emailed me. I didn't add anything to it, and it's not organized in any particular fashion.
I did it today.
Oh, you did?
Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah, if you can go to your Google Docs, you can see the updates. I had some time this afternoon.
Laura, could you put it up on the
Yeah, I
screen for
can.
us?
Yeah.
It's not perfect by any stretch of the means, but you're not going to get me confused with somebody who's like super.
Maybe.
No, but it probably, I'm not a spreadsheet girl, but it probably needs to go into a spreadsheet and you probably need to, take it out of my hands. But maybe we could talk about some things and
Yeah.
get the verbiage down, and then we can put it into something that people are happier with.
Okay, hold on. Almost got it. Here it is.
I guess I didn't pay attention.
I wonder if I can make this bigger. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah. So maybe we could just start talking about it instead,
Sure.
and then we could just.
I thought the layout that you had the columns, I thought that was,
It's just, I guess
Hopefully we get organized.
I wouldn't really worry about the layout. I would say that we need to start with the initiative, get the language that we want down for each one, and then like move forward with that. So, for, for solar panels. So, I know that, Clark, was going to reach out to somebody that, he knew, about, a little bit more information about solar panels. So I didn't do a big deep dive on that.
Mhm.
But I mean, the advantages is obviously it's a renewable source. You can, you have, I really feel like you can, I put it under, but I put storage batteries too under the wiring and outlets for EV charging and storage batteries. So why those would be important. So, if you start using solar panels, I mean, basically you're rolling back into into the grid. So, and there's lots of rebates, and they will be for, I don't know the exact term, but there are both federal and state rebates. So
yeah,
we
for
will-
the initial purchase.
yeah, so
grants,
should
yeah.
we put those in there? So the advantages are it's a renewable source, and then there's state and federal rebates,
Your tax credits and their rebates.
rebates and tax credits, right? All right. Anything else anybody wants to say? Or is this how you wanted to do it? Did you, how did you?
I think there's, from my perspective, there's a couple of things. I think this is really key because I think you want to sort of advertise why they should do it. And I think this is a good thing to go through the list. I think in the broader context, once we make this list out, we have to decide like where it fits with the code and what we can do and what we can't do. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's obvious that we can take this list and highly suggest it and work with the developer. But, in some respects, we should actually look to see what is more enforceable or not. And I don't know what we would, if anything on this list would be, but there could be something on this list that may be.
Yeah, I just thought we needed to start with the list.
Yeah, that's what I'm concurring to, yes.
Yeah, and I sent it out. We not that many people got a chance to work on it. So I thought if we had, 15 minutes, maybe we could brainstorm.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who's faster typer than I can put it in, but I can try to do that, and then we can like reorganize it or something like that. But without anybody else's input, it's just me typing
Well,
away
I
and
think,
looking up and trying to.
yeah, I had a couple comments to that first one. You had renewable resource. I might be more specific and say, reduce fossil fuel use, right? Because I think that's important too. I would keep renewable resource, but
I think our terminology is greenhouse gases.
that's
Reduce
I'm good. Yeah,
greenhouse gases.
gases.
Yeah, because of our greenhouse gas inventory and all the work that we do with Climate Smart.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. The question could come up, and it depends on how deep we want to get into this. But what is the relationship to selling electricity back? I mean,
Say that again.
like, how do we sell electricity back?
After you.
Is there expectation that you'll make money back, or how does that work? Solar credits?
You get solar credits, or you can store it onto your own battery, and then you can, you have two choices. You can sell it back, and then that goes towards payment of your.
I mean, I know someone who got solar credits and they put it toward a heat pump, an air source heat pump, for example.
Okay. Yeah, stuff, knowing that might be helpful.
I mean,
And
there's
what's the difference
definitely,
between
so
residential and commercial?
I went to so New York State has literally has like a whole group of people that are going across the state that are doing these initiatives to tell, to lay out what exactly you can do, with solar panels, that type of thing. So, I'm no expert, so I would have to defer to,
Or
that.
maybe a link.
Okay.
That might,
So I like the idea of a picture. Like I would envision this list as kind of like the backup to a questionnaire that I would like the applicants to fill out. So it would be like, are you providing solar panels on your site plan? And I would attach this to the questionnaire. So as they're thinking about what they're adding to the site plan, they can see why, and they can see pictures that would hopefully be like taken in the town of Niskuna of other examples of new builds or retrofits of these things that we're asking, so that they could even like go and see them if they wanted to see how they like fit in.
So similar to like, basically what we did for, like composting, like you see a picture of what you can do to compost and like what it is that.
Yeah, and I would put like the caption would be like, okay, if we're gonna take a picture of a compost bin that we created, maybe we take a picture of the one that's in Niskuna, and the caption would be 2782 Aqueduct Road. So it's not like we're citing things that are in California. Like, well, like I think it's really, I like the format, like solar panels, picture of a solar panel in Niskuna.
So each
They
one
reduce-
their own individual page.
or two, or half a page.
Or whatever it
Yeah.
takes, whatever
Okay.
the space. takes.
Yeah,
Okay.
reduce the greenhouse gases, renewable resource, you know, wins in a cost benefit analysis in, 10 years or whatever, like all that stuff. I really like it. Like just bullet points, pictures. This is, this is what we've been asking for and this is where it's gone. So, because sometimes they feel picked on. And so I feel like it'd be really good to show that it's not just them that we're asking it. This is where we have it in our town. And then that would go, and then like if you guys build this list, then we'll just build a questionnaire for the applicants, and then the applicants can justify whether they've done it or not done it.
Okay.
I'll do the form. I really like
Are
this
you, are
idea.
you suggesting that we go through and they basically check whether they're interested or not?
No, I
A new
think they
person
should say
before they can-
if they provided it in their site plan, where and how. Because like
Yeah,
if you
okay.
give that to them ahead of time, but like I think the reason that Clark and Ellen, it's kind of like you don't just want to give them mandates that say put solar on your site, because it hasn't always worked. We've tried that. So we can have a question that said, did you incorporate solar in your site? But I think like this document would be really good because it's not just like we want solar. It's like this is why solar works. This is where we have it. This is what you can think about doing,
Laura, I only spent a couple minutes, but I'd be happy working on the solar one with Ellen as a bit of a straw man, but NYSERDA seemed to have a lot of really good information. It took some poking around on their website, which I didn't really get into, but I think we could dig up some nice information on each of these. I think it's a great list.
Yeah, I just,
and it would hopefully create buy-in that not only are we providing you with a questionnaire that you have to fill out that says did you do it, but while you're thinking about it, kind of here's why, and here's some of your brothers and sisters that are doing it too, for like peer pressure.
Okay, so my question is, does any one of these topics speak to anybody that they would be willing to go and do that?
Yeah, I was going to propose the same thing, Ellen and Clark. Like, thank you so much for starting this, right? So I saw one about trees, and I saw the stuff about bird safe glass. I will definitely take ownership of those two.
So you're gonna do the bird safe glass, and then so there's two. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there's a protecting existing trees, and then there is the native and non-invasive species for landscaping. I don't know.
Well, Laura really likes trees, so I don't want to steal it from Laura. So you want to take that, Laura, protecting trees, and I'll take the native, non-native one.
I'm happy with either. If you think you can do them, like I would probably just jump on them. I'm happy to look and see what you find and add if I know of any more.
Sure.
Hey, Richard, did you have something you wanted to say?
I suggested the bird safe class. I'd be happy to kind of lay out the pros of that.
Okay. I stand down on the bird safe class, and
Can I'll put your name on trees and non-native and non-invasive species.
and Ellen, if you don't want pesticide free, I will take it, but it's kind of your thing, so I wouldn't take it away from you.
So I mean, I'll do the pesticide free. I'll do the composting. So I really think that the low watering and mowing ties into the whole composting and pesticide free, because as soon as you go pesticide free, you can now, because
So-
you have to stop using pesticides, and then you start mowing your lawn at a higher level.
So we have a lot of information about watering. We have put out documents that explain that the roots of the grass are basically as big as it grows tall.
Yeah.
So we have like those diagrams, and we have
That's
I know.
That's from the
David
last-
Chinnery.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the last program we did.
And then I think it was the tree council or even the water department has the guidance on when to water. So I remember, or maybe it was David Chinnery was saying if you put a can of cat food an empty can of cat food, empty and clean, so you don't attract rodents. If you put that in your lawn and then you set your sprinkler system, you really shouldn't be watering your lawn more than a empty cat can a day or every 2 days. Or there's some like good guidance on watering there. You're probably fine. We don't have to make that up.
Okay.
We know reduction of water bills is a top concern in this unit these days.
I can take the heat pump.
Okay, yeah, I don't know anything about heat pumps. Mm.
I'll do the EV charging and wiring then.
Well, there's the avoid noisy and polluting lawn care
Oh.
equipment.
Yeah, I'll take that one too. Unless someone else wants the EV.
I can do the EV if you want me to. My dad obsesses about it, so
One of the interesting things about EV was several years ago, I attended a program at Hudson Valley Community College, and they were saying that the Capital District was well suited for EV transportation. We should see if that's been taken any further.
that's because our grid is relatively clean. Like
Yeah.
sometimes when you switch over to EVs in places where they're mostly burning fossil fuels, there's not as much good environmental impact.
They were also, though, talking about commuter
Distances
patterns within
are
the Capital
short.
District are shorter than
Oh, okay.
other areas, so it makes it more amenable.
So we'll probably just assign Georgia to the wildlife corridors, right?
And Ellen, when would you like us to do this homework and be ready?
I mean, it's possible for the next meeting, right?
Yeah,
That's possible.
it's not much work, no.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to add one and work on it, and that's, bike access, sidewalk access, bike locks. We had a question not too long ago for the building that extended, or it's going to extend for the school, and how, yes, the sidewalk was there, but you have to get your bike up to the building. You have to basically drive on the driveway, or even to walk up to the building, you had to walk on the driveway.
Yeah, I might put accessibility.
Yes.
Accessibility.
But don't we need to make sure that, we don't step on complete streets too?
No, I don't think so, actually. I think that's fine.
That's fine?
Yeah, I mean, they'll do their own recommendations, but I think it is important, even when you're looking at the seeker forms and stuff, if you're able to drive less vehicle trips by adding bicycle infrastructure, you're reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Like, there's no question about it. So,
Okay. And regarding the pictures, so I can easily take a picture of an existing tree. So like each of us is in charge of our own pictures, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I get the
That sounds
easiest
that
task.
sounds like a plan.
So we don't have anyone for the low watering and mowing.
I can work on that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not promising, the stars and the moon, but
Oops.
I'll do my best.
We have Simran, Ellen, and me all in there at once.
Well, Siri, you can have it. Is that which one did you want? Which one do you want? Which one speaks to you?
I'm fine with any of them.
So do you want to do low watering and mowing
let's
then?
do that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Solar panels.
So I just have to look into it more,
Mhm.
Mhm.
research on it.
What's the advantage? Like essentially trying to get people to buy into systems that will reduce water usage, especially for watering their lawn. So like sprinkler timers,
Oh yeah.
like just things that increase sustainability on the project.
Think
And-
about if you had to make a persuasive argument to
Okay.
get somebody to do that. So you'd want to list the benefits.
And the picture would do the same, be persuasive.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
guess we'd have to think of somewhere that would be a good example of timed spring. I mean, you could probably even just take a picture of a sprinkler system working. But like, I know that the town recommends that you buy a timer that you can set for specific times and specific days, because you're really not supposed to water whenever you feel like it.
You know, during
According
the
to our
day,
code.
in a nice hot sunny day, most
So,
of the water evaporates.
Yeah, don't water at noon. Like, that's the worst thing you can possibly do. Like, they really want you to be watering at like, you know,
Yeah, and you
5 in
said
the
that
morning.
they already have some of this already done. Like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. The water department and
Look-
trees
Yeah,
people.
sorry.
And the other thing too is that if you plant trees, like I have 2 ridiculously huge trees in my front yard and like 4 or 5 of them in my backyard. And I do not have a sprinkler system, and I wait for the rain to water my lawn, and then I mow after it's been rained on.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
But we've also done is rain barrels,
Yes.
and I know they're unsightly. I've been told that.
Oh, rain.
But when we put on new gutters on the house, we had them put in a section that I could remove and put in a water barrel. So,
Yep, that's a great.
That's terrible. Someone said that.
oh, we got.
We
People
were
are free to speak.
They are.
We are free to listen.
that's you know, we originally considered doing a rain barrel initiative because
Yeah.
they're actually a big deal. They can help a lot.
It's on our
Yeah.
list. It's just that
Yeah.
we have a few other
Oh, yeah.
things we're really trying. I want to finish the composting before I start the rain barrels. If anybody wants to jump on the rain barrels, they're more than welcome to.
Put that in there so we remember, Simran.
So, anyways.
Yeah, and
Hilarious.
yeah, I mean, the rain barrel is just simply a water retention, and reuse system. So that if somebody's building a big building, obviously rain barrels wouldn't be the way to do it, but they could at least show how they're, recycling or attempting to reclaim the water and
Mhm,
reuse it.
Yeah, and you could put retention areas and then reutilize the water.
Exactly.
They're fantastic for gardens. Like if you have a
Yeah.
most people in Niskuna have to have raised garden beds because of the clay soil. It's very difficult to have a garden without a raised bed and be successful. So on that section, you can have a rain barrel that then you can just use the gravity to then water your garden.
Yeah. And the only knock I've heard, and I have not fact checked this, but is that if it's coming off a roof with, oil-based or, tar-based, fossil fuel-based shingles, the water itself is obviously you wouldn't want to drink it, but some people claim you shouldn't put it on if you're growing vegetables or fruit,
Right,
or whatever.
yeah.
You don't use it for that. But
Yeah, but that's why you're usually because ours is by our garden, so it just falls.
Us to be aware of time. 3 of us rode bicycles, and daylight is there for about 40 more minutes.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I have lights.
No, well, there is
You have a white shirt on, you're good.
no, there is a proper thing to consider, right? This the noise ordinance, not the noise.
I mean, Ellen asked for 15 minutes, and
Okay.
it looks like we are just hit the mark for 15 minutes.
Done.
Okay.
So we're good.
Okay, and then if I haven't shared this link to everyone, I'll share it now. And then if there's something like Chuck just thought of that's not on the list, then feel free to add it on there
Yeah.
too. This just was 15 minutes. We could spend 2 hours. So
Yeah.
I sent it. Did everybody?
did everybody
Yeah,
get
no,
it?
I
got
did.
it.
Oh,
I
okay,
did.
okay,
I
okay.
thought-
I actually already made some minor edits to the pesticide thing.
Okay, that I already did today.
Okay, the other discussion item that we have is the zoning code updates. And for those of you that haven't gone through this before, the town, whenever they make a zoning change, the CAC has to evaluate it for its impact with respect to the seeker. So that's why we're seeing it.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
we are part of the review process here, and it's an important part of the process.
Yeah, and we don't actually need to spend a whole lot of time on it today. This is the first time you're seeing it. Some of the zoning code updates that we'll do are just simple, like textual changes that we need to make. over time. Sometimes fees are in the zoning code, hard coded, and it's very difficult to adjust because when you open up the zoning code, you have to do seeker. but the meat of the zoning code amendment that we're proposing right now is to regulate the short-term rentals. And so this is the beginning of a code that we've been working on. We took North Elba's, changed it quite a bit. North Elba's has gone through a significant amount of litigation, so a lot of the things in there have stood up to in the courts. So like the definitions and things, I think are really valuable. One of the things in taking trainings for regulating short-term rentals is that it's really important to have a why that ties directly into your code. So the highlighted yellow is is like the why in our code. Like why are we trying to adopt a code to regulate short-term rentals? And it probably needs to be more expansive, but kind of the long and short of it is we've had some problems recently with short-term rentals negatively impacting residential neighborhoods, and we have no codes to regulate them right now. You can rent your home for a day or you can rent it home for 10 years, and there's no distinction in our code. We have about a lot of rental homes in Niskuna that we would want to preserve and protect. Renting a home is an important way to live and share in your neighborhood. So we're not trying to get involved in long-term rentals. We're just recognizing that short-term rentals can have different effects in neighborhoods than long-term rentals. So the definition of a short-term rental is less than 30 days. And the other distinction that we've really been kind of parsing through is hosted versus unhosted rentals. So members of the planning board and members of the public, they have some pretty strong opinions on this, which we're trying to balance. But some people feel like if you buy a house with the sole purpose of renting it and never living in it, you're only making money off the house and you live somewhere else. They feel like that's a pretty commercial use of that property that doesn't really fit into a residential neighborhood. And so like North Elba distinguishes versus hosted, which would mean that it has to be your own home. There has to be someone living in the home. And if you rent the Airbnb, you're only renting a portion of the home. The idea is if it's hosted, that person is a neighbor. The idea is if it's hosted, you're much less likely to have the entire home taken over by 50 people that are there to, have a party that's not in their neighborhood. So the idea is that hosted would be more in harmony with the fabric of the neighborhood. And if you did a hosted, you might be able to like limit the number of days that you're having a hosted, but it doesn't preclude you from, if you're going on vacation or if you're like renting a room, during union's graduation or something, it's okay. It's not really going to change the neighborhood, which they feel like is a lot different than if you literally buy a house and it's up for rent every single day of the year. So the code, as it's written now, requires a permit for short-term rentals, probably a relatively standard permit requiring you to show where your parking is. One of the issues we had with the short-term rentals that we have in the town of Niskuna is concerns about them parking all over the street. So a permit would require for you to show that you have a valid number of parking spaces to fit the number of people that you're allowed to rent in your home. And it would, the rules would essentially state that, the cars have to be in the driveway. I'm a little worried about some of the enforcement, but having some code there is probably better than no code and making it clear. And if you have the permit, the number to call if you get a complaint, things like that. There's a variety of things that if you get the permit, you have to do. There's a calculation for how many bedrooms you'd be able to rent. Site plan drawings. If you are on a septic system, which we have very few of them, there's a whole nother set of regulations that you have to go through, but that's fair because you don't want to overtax the septic system and then cause, those problems, which do happen. And then there's a process for filling in the permit, and then there's a process for trying to mitigate the potential negative noise and use impacts to the neighborhood. And these things that are highlighted in yellow, like, feel free to read it and give me your thoughts. But some of the things that are problematic are if the outdoor fires after 10, loud noises after 9 or 10, like these codes are there already. They're actually quite difficult to enforce. Sometimes neighbors don't get along and call on neighbors. It doesn't have to be a short-term rental. So it's not the end all to fixing everything, but it's in there. Feel free to look at it. Then the big thing that we've really been considering is like where these would be allowed and in which zone. So, and we are probably making the distinction between unhosted and hosted. So that's why there's kind of a lot of yellow when it comes to unhosted versus hosted. You'll see in the unhosted, you can limit it to, very small number of zoning districts, whereas the hosted may be allowed kind of anywhere as long as they're under the good guidelines of the code that I just kind of explained. And then there's a process for complaints and violations. If the short-term rentals are really being problematic, their license can be revoked, and they have the right to appeal, which you have to put in any code. So essentially this whole thing is a giant new thing that we'd be thinking of putting into our zoning code. It probably is time. We've gotten a number of different location complaints and concerns from neighbors. It's a first pass. We're trying to use a model that we know can hopefully stand the test of time, and just be balanced, I guess, in our adoption of it. So I haven't filled out the seeker form. I will have to do that, but it's in the planning board now. The planning board is probably going to call for a public hearing on it like relatively soon. So I would think that by the next meeting, we would really want to be able to like just read it, digest it, have questions for me, like ask, and then I'd say you probably only have a month or two before you'd need to make a recommendation on it.
And again, the questions that we'll be answering are the same questions we'd ask for any action. So
It's a long form.
it's a long form.
Adoption
So we
of the
gotta go
zoning
through it.
code is
So
it's the big one.
think about that in that context. I mean, obviously some things will be applicable to this particular thing and some won't. but-
Yeah, we're not disturbing any dirt here. So the questions that you're going to be looking at in the long form are like impacts to the community. Is it in harmony
Character
with
of
the comprehensive
neighborhood.
plan, character of the neighborhood, that kind of thing.
And we do have, and in the past, basically made recommendations to strike areas or add text. Ultimately, it has to go through the town attorney to make sure that it's legal. But, I think this committee in the past has done some really good work with the code, previous code we've looked at snippets.
Yeah, and so
really add value, so.
you don't have to worry so much about like penalties and appeals
Yeah.
and those types of things, because that's just standard process that's in there. Like probably what you want to think about is like the why we would want to adopt a short-term code, unhosted versus hosted distinctions, and then if there's impacts to the neighborhood that you can identify, and you don't feel like the code is properly identified them, then that's something we could look at too.
Nora, would it be possible to, I've attended some town board meetings and I have heard people speak on this issue about the short-term rentals. So would it be possible for us to hear from the people perhaps on both sides?
I have invited people who own an Airbnb to come, but they haven't come yet. But our privilege of the floor is open to anyone, and they're always welcome to come.
Okay.
The code is being shared with them. They're giving the planning board their comments. I don't know that the CIC needs to specifically solicit comments. It's an open public process. I always tell them any meetings that it's on, they're always welcome to come. They're very aware of the code. I send it to them. I would say generally speaking, what I have heard is that they would like to not make the distinction between hosted and unhosted and just kind of get rid of it everywhere. But that is a very heavy lift legally. And what we don't want to adopt is a code that could be challenged and then thrown out, because that's not going to help them either. So it's like when I say balance, I'm trying to balance outright banning particular uses is generally will not survive litigation. So you have to allow for them somewhere, which is why the distinction between hosted and unhosted might be helpful.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The thing I would say, and I would encourage people to come to speak at privilege of the floor, but, you know, this code, we're not necessarily tailoring it to any specific incident or specific issue. What we're tailoring it for is to be fair for the residents of the town, you know, and to do what's right for the town as a whole. So you got to look at it in that context as well.
Okay.
So I read through this prior to this meeting, and so I did have a question because there was one. It's under the short-term rental permits in the town of Niskayuna. It's section A3. I don't know why it goes 1-3, but it does 1-3, and then it says there should be a limited number of hosted short-term rental permits issued by the town of Niskayuna set by the town board via resolution. So I guess I just so I understand the limited number. I just don't know, is it going to be like a lottery every year, like that
So-
kind of like?
Yeah.
Because
so
I was like, oh, if you have yours, then you're set, and then anybody else who comes along in that zone can't have it because.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that'll stay. Some of that
Okay.
already did get removed, but
Oh,
that
okay.
is from North Elba, because what they're trying to limit is there's two types of communities really for short-term rentals. There's the seasonal communities where short-term rentals can actually sometimes even outnumber regular neighbors. And then there's bedroom communities where short-term rentals are a very, very small fraction of the homes in their town.
Okay.
And they're kind of different because the seasonal communities, they're so pervasive, you don't even always notice them. Whereas in the bedroom communities, if you have one, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So they have a different type of regulation. And I think the reason that North Elba has a limited number of permits is because they're honestly trying to make it so that there isn't a street that's 90% unhosted rentals with like one long-term neighbor that's holding out on the cul-de-sac that's lived there for 60 years and then has no one that lives around him.
Yeah.
So they're trying by that to set a number of permits, and then they even have a waiting list. Like I think we removed all the waiting list stuff out of this code.
Okay.
We're not concerned right now with the number of applications that we get. If you go on Airbnb, it's still pretty limited, but the idea would be if you do set a number, it would probably have to be relatively low. But the reason that you don't want to put a number in the code is then you don't want to need to open up the whole zoning code to amend it. If you set it by resolution and then it becomes problematic to say only allow like 15 Airbnbs, then the town board can react quicker to what's happening than a zoning code amendment, which takes like,
And that's really the
A
appropriate
year.
place for that decision to be made. It's really at the town board level.
but whether or not it's a good question. It's in there because North Elba had it in there, and whether or not we actually need it is still a little bit of a question.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That was all I had. I mean, I had looked for some other stuff, but now that I know, I'll
What I'd like to do is I'd like to move on to the next initiatives.
Yeah, so
if we may.
read it through. If you have questions, email it to me. If you've heard neighbors or have your own comments, let me know. And then I'll have the full long form environmental ready for you at the next meeting.
Okay, moving on to the climate smart task force items. Kashuk, we've had some natural resource inventory meetings with Jim. Update us where we stand on it.
Okay, I'm just pulling up the agenda here. Okay, so natural resources inventory. So a quick background. Niskayuna is doing phase 2 of the natural resources inventory. Our funding source is from a grant from the DEC. And we'll be surveying a bunch of parcels. And the intent is to have 3 naturalist-led walks, hikes, and the intent is to have one in the spring, one in the summer, and one in the fall. The spring one was held on May 25th, which was a Saturday, and it was well attended. We got considerable publicity and outreach from the Boy Scouts, from their Boy Scouts group, as well as the what are the smaller ones called? Cub Scouts. And thank you, Ellen, so much for making that connection. My own son is a Boy Scout, but I did not make that connection. So thank you, Ellen. And Ellen also connected us to the Girl Scouts of America, but this particular day they couldn't make it. But we are hoping for more participation from the Girl Scouts next time around. There is a working group. The working group meets monthly, and I thought it would be spaced them out by 2 weeks. So since the first one was in May, so May to June, June to July, have the summer one in August, and then the fall one in October. So the next working group meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 11th. I also want to acknowledge Steve Young, who is a retired New York State botanist who comes along for these walks and is like a tremendous resource. Even our hired naturalist, Jim, asks Steve for clarification sometimes. So, and a reminder on one of the primary aspects of the Niskayuna NRI, which is public outreach, especially outreach to young people and getting young people excited about nature and the importance of time spent in nature. So all in all, I would say the first visit by the naturalist was quite successful.
Excellent. Greenhouse gas emissions inventory and government climate action plan.
Okay, so I met with Jim Yenger actually earlier today. He has been given the data for our energy meters, and we're collecting the data for our gas fueling tanks and our diesel and our propane tanks. It's a lot of data collection, and we're working on putting it all in the EPA portfolio so he can export it into one giant spreadsheet. And he was looking at stuff that I did not understand because I'm getting all of the data from like our bills. So we decided, rather than me not being able to figure it out, scheduled a meeting for Tuesday morning with highways, engineering, police, and our building maintenance guy, and they can parse through that and explain it a little bit better to Jim. He's still trying really hard to have our inventory submitted by July. I don't know if we'll make it, but he's trying really hard. And I'm doing my best with him and giving him all the data. And I'll have maybe if we're able to pull that all together, I'll have an inventory honestly at the next meeting. We'll see, because that'll be July. Yep.
Okay. Good, thanks. Let's go talk about the ongoing initiatives. We have the Smart Communities Task Force.
Yeah. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. Actually, as an outcome of me meeting with Vicky, we called our Climate Smart Task Force coordinator, who helped us submit for our energy code enforcement training, and we were awarded a $10,000 rebate for that. We got it. Yep, we got it in the mail. So Vicky and I, discussed that as being part of the Quiet Niskayuna, to help with Quiet Niskayuna, which I think it will. But that was approved, so we got that $10,000 grant. And then the other thing is our EV initiative under the Climate Smart Communities Task Force was also approved. So if it's good, they have said, okay, so now from this moment forward, any purchase in the town of Niskuna of an all-electric vehicle will count towards our initiative. I believe if we get 10 of them, we'll get another $5,000, which in my brain I was thinking maybe that would work for if we wanted to do pollinator gardens, but we'd have to show that pollinator gardens reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I don't know if we can do that, but we might be able to, because we were the first ones to convince them that composting reduces greenhouse gas emissions. So if there's a way to do that with the pollinator gardens, that would be cool. Yeah, so $10,000, and then our EV initiative was approved.
Excellent. Good. Land preservation tools. I know we had kicked around the list, and something tells me we had a deadline, but I know that I'm probably guilty of missing the deadline as well. So
It's fine. These things take time, but a quick question. The results from the comprehensive plan survey, are those available? And, perhaps we can see how much conservation is a priority, because those literally the people speaking, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, I can export it all
Yeah.
to you. This is what I was actually explaining at the comp plan meeting last night. Like, there's a ton of data in open-ended questions. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best data actually. But it's going to take a little while to sort through. But if you do a word cloud of what people want to see protected in the next 10 years, something that's mentioned more than, almost anything else is preserving open space.
Yeah.
And
And
trees. It's just like trees, open space, and parks. The absolute top three of what people want to see preserved in the next 10 years.
I've always had the Bethlehem program as a model. So very quickly there, I've talked about this before. So their CEE program, they have had 153 acres protected under the CEE program. CEE stands for Conservation Easement Exception. Landowner forgoes a right for development for X number of years. And it's interesting to note that even though Bethlehem provided this much tax break for if you don't develop it for 1 year, this much tax break for if you don't develop it for 2 years, every landowner who signed up for the maximum benefit, which is perpetual. Perpetually foregoing development, although the landowners still own the land. And it's also important to note that the tax benefit is not just like whatever municipal tax like we have, like the property tax, right? But it is also school tax. So it requires buy-in from the school district also. But which is why we can carefully consider the survey respondents. I'm very passionate about this. I will do whatever heavy lifting it takes to come up with initiative that will preserve our existing open space. And this program that Bethlehem has is for open space and farmland space. So I guess what can we do next in this, and then
yeah, I think the Bethlehem initiative is really good. As I've stated in the past, though, I think the best approach is first to have a menu of different things, and we should work on getting that menu. But I fully support the Bethlehem, but I think the Bethlehem may not fit in every situation. So I think if we're going to go ask for the town board, we need to do more. I've compiled lists of other stuff we can sort of work together.
Okay.
If you bug me,
okay.
I will do it.
All right. I shall. You just gave me your cell phone number, and bugging is in my future and yours.
Good. You are no different than what I tell everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
And I apologize if I owed you. I know we talked about getting this clear.
Yeah, it's okay. And, in the middle of all this is the comprehensive planning process. And any argument that we make is going to be that much more stronger if it is backed up by survey data.
Yep, I agree,
Yeah.
100%.
And Laura, would you be able to share the survey data with us? And Laura, if I can make one more request, some updates to the website from the old website on the NRI. Something quick to point to.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's Ellen. We just didn't get to the NRI the last time Ellen was in my office, but we've
Okay.
just been adding, and we'll probably do that on Friday.
Okay.
Is there something specific is there something specific from the last NRI that you're looking, so I don't remember what was on there from the last NRI, so is it just is it the final report and the pictures, and is that what you would like up there?
The last NRI had a cover page that
Yeah.
explained what the NRI was,
Yes, I have.
and on the left hand side there's a place to download the phase 1 report done by Jim, and it was submitted to the town board for review. The town board, I wouldn't use the word accepted it, but the town board reviewed it, and it was part of the package for one of the town board meetings. The reason I bring it up as a request for the website is, and again, Ellen, thanks to your hard work, from the newspaper, people have been emailing me about like, hey, I'm more interested. How can I participate? So it'll be real neat to, of course, I type everything in an email. I have a standard text that I copy and put it in my email. But my email is not niskayuna.org, and it'll be nice for me to point to a town website where the phase 1 is collected, so that they can look at it.
Okay, I'll confirm with you afterwards. I have some stuff that I use when I'm tabling, so I'll make sure I have all the right stuff.
Okay,
Good.
Ashok, and check this out too, because here's the CAC page. The natural resources inventory is here.
Wait,
This
when
is-
did that come? Like, I just checked it and it wasn't there. Is something wrong with my browser?
No, it's here, and then this is where you can click to download the survey. But if we're missing stuff, just tell us. I added a pretty picture at the bottom because you can.
Okay.
So if you just go to the CAC, just go to the CAC, and then
Yeah.
on the related pages, it has the NRI right here. But like Ellen said, we can't really remember what's on the old website. So tell us what we're missing.
So I
Got
think
it.
that we should put in the natural, we have this, that why to do natural.
Yeah, okay. So we can put that
I
in.
want that in there.
All right.
Okay. Clearly something's going on because I'm not seeing any of that. Ellen, could you take a look at what I'm seeing? Like 2 fingers. Yeah. I'm sorry, Laura. It just wasn't showing up in my browser. All my spiel could be just
Well,
a
we
simple
haven't-
browser issue.
We haven't finished everything. We didn't really do. We don't have anything really. Well, oh no, we worked on composting. I'm just kidding. Look, we even embedded the video for composting.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay, Laura, please accept my apologies. It's a browser issue, and I it's just not showing up in my browser for some reason.
I will tell you, I've had problems with my iPad. And I'll call Laura and say, I can't download something or something's not there.
Okay.
So there's a setting somewhere that is not liking what you're
Okay.
But
trying to.
we're not done yet. That's why Ellen's
Okay.
coming on Friday. We're working on it. So
Okay, pesticide outreach.
So we just did I don't know, we sold we had 6 or 7 or 8 people sign up at Niska Day. So keep slow but sure, keep getting the word out. I'm, met lots of people that are interested in, that are doing it, and more people are. Some people don't need a sign, but that's okay.
I'll make a comment because I was at the comp table, which was right nearby earlier in the morning and then later in the afternoon. And it was really busy when I was there. particularly when I came back later in the day, there was a lot of interest, a lot of conversation. So I thought the table was really great. Okay, LOMO, biodiversity initiatives.
So we got Nick put down the compost bed, and then we went, and Laura and I ran out like right before it rained. We threw down the seed for it to get wet, and then we're hoping that that it works. So somewhere along the line, something got misplaced in our stuff for the tabling. So we're just going to recreate the pathway and all the plantings that we've made. So basically we keep labeling and keeping track of the seeds that we plant and the spaces. So now we're going to go back and, mark it for the next, and we'll try to do it again in the fall. So we'll figure out a seed to buy and then do that. And so that's it. So
Excellent.
yeah, and I do have in the back of my head, I kind of was waiting for the composting thing to finish initiative, but what I'd really like to see is I would like to work with, I believe it's called CAP DISC, and I think it stands for Capital Region Disc Golf. And what I would like to do, they worked with Central Park when they built the pool to reorganize their disc golf. And I would like to talk to the town and talk to programs and everything like that, and see if we can recreate and make our disc golf a little bit more up to speed with what more local ones are, and get them off the cap, so that can be a true cap that's mowed just once. And I know it's very difficult for those people to maintain it. It's a pain in the patootie for pathways and stuff like that. So maybe we can, that's what I'm really hoping for. So I just trying to be patient.
Yeah, and Roy will help with that too, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I have to, Ray or Roy?
Roy Thornton.
Oh, yes, right. But I really need to make sure that it's okay with the town, that we can try to find a space that will hold, these, so that it's a nice course for everybody. Because when I've spoken to people at Central Park, doing ours in the summertime is not enjoyable because it's so hot up there and there's no shade, and there's a couple really nice ones, but I think now that we've got it under our belt, we can design something nice with the space. So that's that.
Do you want to do the compost initiative while you're?
Okay. So for composting, so it's built. It's at the senior center. There, I had lots of people that were interested, and they took a screenshot of the QR code. So basically, we're waiting. Kayla was on vacation, so she's back this week. So I kind of wasn't bothering her, but I'll send her an email tomorrow just to ask about putting up the signage, making sure that we have people on board, and then setting up. She'll set up the classes for people, and then once we kind of get that and done, then I really hope that the town does does a little PR for it. I'd be happy to help with that. And then, we move on to others and build some more. So, yeah, that's it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. There's a lot there. I'm very appreciative of all the effort you put in. Quiet Niskayuna.
So I finally had a conversation with the Director of Sustainability at the DEC, and it was a great conversation. He had so many optimistic things to say about the transition, how it's going. I even asked him are there any negatives? Are there any downsides? And he had none. He said there were none. And I took a lot of notes. I won't go into all the details of it, but it's just, it's going really well. They're doing it gradually at various, sites. And he's local, so he's in Albany. So I'm thinking he was such a nice guy, maybe he would even speak to our maintenance department about how it's going.
Yeah.
And I think it would make a big difference.
So I let the highway department, maintenance department know that we got the grant, and that I would like for them. I would like to use all the $10,000 to just start getting them electric lawn maintenance equipment, and they are willing to do that.
Great. And I mean,
perfect.
there's no reason we should stop with the leaf blowers. I mean, there's many other
Yeah.
types
So
of
they
electric.
said that they actually have a little bit right now, which I didn't even know. Right now, they have electric lights for when they have emergencies at night. They have battery powered electric light equipment, and they also have battery powered electric pole saws for maintaining trees along the road. And they like them. And they said they have been doing research, and so far, the batteries that they have enjoyed the most are Milwaukee. So one of the things he asked me was like, if we can find a catalog, they are willing to look at leaf blowers. They want to get some more saws. They want to do something else. I can't remember what he said. It was all sounded fine to me. Is we could get him a catalog, and then they could put together what they think they could best use the $10,000 for, and then we can submit it. But they are really open to it.
That's good. One of the things that this guy told me though was that it's important to have the same brand
So
because
that's
they can
true.
interchange the batteries.
Yeah,
so-
that's 100% gonna be true. And so I'm not an expert, but if they like the Milwaukee ones now, and we can find like Milwaukee leaf blowers or whatever, I don't
They're
know if we can get like an
commercial grade,
EV
yeah.
Milwaukee catalog and give it to them. That I just got that information today, so I'll try and see if I can find that. But if you know of any of those things, then let me know too, because it was a joint effort. I copied a couple people at the highway department, and they convinced each other that it was good. So
So what they do at the DEC is they allow the different sites to choose their own. They don't tell them what to do, what to get. They research it and then.
Yeah, I'm wondering at some point, we should probably highlight that the town is utilizing battery-powered
Yeah, as soon as we,
appliances.
as soon as we buy
This may
them.
not be the right time right now, but as we get into it at some point, I think that would go a long way.
Well, I think once you, I mean, you most certainly should do it after you
Yeah,
purchase,
10,000,
after
yeah.
the 10,000. So the other, I just wanted to throw this out there is that I don't know what their snow blowing equipment looks like, or if they have to do small areas, with like that they have to push. I know that they have ones that they, use on but the ones that they push, the electric snow blowers are much better at heavy wet snow than the gas powered ones,
Really?
bar none. Yeah, they throw it farther. They don't. It doesn't feel it. It just does it. They're much better for the heavy wet snow than the other ones. So.
Yeah, electric motors have better torque performance.
yeah, so I think that getting them a couple electric leaf blowers
Yeah.
is going to convince them that they never want to buy another gas one. Yeah. And then maybe,
Yeah, we should go
Yeah.
after the loud,
Oh, yeah.
loud stuff
Definitely.
first.
We're cold quiet.
And the leaf
Yes.
blower is not,
I
as
agree,
I'm
we should
reminded
start.
every.
and I didn't even think about it, but and the saws and I'm sure the saws have the same issue. Yeah. There was something
Head
else he
shears.
said too. Yeah. And
I'm just, again, want to make sure that the Shook gets home safely. Wildlife corridors.
I have to get with George on this. We
Okay.
don't have any updates.
All right.
So I just want to say one last thing about the Quiet Niskayuna. So the other thing that I spoke to a lot of people about when they came to the table was if we can somehow, if you have a lawn service that comes to your home, right? But you have you don't obviously don't own a lawnmower, but you might own an electric blower. That try to ask them to use that when they come. And I think that, just when you come to my house, I'll leave my electric blower to you for you to blow everything out so that you don't have to use your gas powered one.
I asked a landscaper about that. I didn't talk to every landscaper, but I didn't get a good reception. They said they would never do that.
Aw.
I can't remember now.
Liability,
Rationale.
Yeah.
breaks.
I can't remember. I don't remember what he said. But he said we would never do that.
Well,
And he would
but
be
even if
surprised
they ask, it's probably not bad to ask. They can keep saying no, but
Yeah.
even if enough people say, I really want you to use an electric, like use mine if you don't have them. If like 50 people are like, I really want you to use electric, use mine if you don't have them, then maybe they'll be like, well, we can't use yours for liability, but okay, let's just see if we can find one.
Anyways, okay.
Because it's customer demand. It's customer demand that's going to create that.
Yep.
It's much harder to do it from the top down.
And I also, so that was the other thing I suggested about pesticides. I'm like, you have a lawn service and you have someone come, but do you know what they're putting down on your lawn? Ask them, to stop or to use less or to, because if you don't ask, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So anyways, all right.
Okay, this was a good meeting. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
I.
Meeting's adjourned.
And they did
Thank
vote
you.
for 2 electric buses. We did vote
Yeah.
for electric, two
Yeah.
electric
I-
buses.